from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, we're going to have fun today because we have the matter of Harry and Meghan's supposed and possibly non-existent, but possibly existent separation at hand. So without further ado, I'm going to plunge right in, if the girls will allow me to do so. Shirley Urch says, I hope I pronounced that name correctly, sorry if I haven't. Hi Lady C, thank you for your informative channel. Just wondering, did you notice Meghan wasn't wearing her wedding rings in the photo shoot? I say good on Harry if the rumours are true. Hope he brings the children with him. She is a very unsuitable person to raise them, in my opinion. Greetings from Australia. Greetings to you in Australia, my dear Shirley Urch. I didn't notice. I didn't look that closely at the photographs, I've got to tell you. But, you know, we cannot rule out the possibility that we are being hoodwinked on a massive scale just to have talk prevail. You know, keep them in the news, keep us interested. Why, is the sun rising in the east? Is it rising in the west? Is it rising in the north? Is it rising in the south? What colour is Meghan's face going to be today? Is it going to be white? Is it going to be pale ochre? Is it going to be yellow ochre? Is it going to be bronze? Are she and Harry separating? Are she and Harry not? Is it true? Is it not? Time will tell. But the thing is, if the rumours that quite possibly they, and most likely they have planted, are true, they wouldn't have planted them. So if the rumours are true, it means they haven't planted them. But there is a massive subterfuge taking place. And I wouldn't be surprised if she pitches up in Britain on her own to go and accept her award for being the most wonderful human being that God ever put on this earth. Sorry, woman, because she's a feminist, and that was she's a woman. A woman. Doesn't she know all about being a woman? At the GQ Awards on the 16th of the month at Tate Modern. Let's see if she pitches up. Let's see if he pitches up with her. Let's see if neither of them comes. It will be very interesting to see what happens. Phoenix Firebird says, this could be interesting. If by chance the children are that, I'm wondering, did I answer the question fully? I suppose I must have. It just occurred to me I might not have answered it fully. So I will return to it. If the rumours are true, you hope he brings the children with him. Let me put it this way. A great negotiating tool would be those children. Now, I'm not going to say any more than that. But Meghan doesn't ever like being deprived of anything. She likes to have everything. She presents herself as a compassionate lover of children and animals. I mean, I would sooner die than give a dog of mine away. But then, I'm not Meghan. I would never surrender custody of my children. And let us see if she surrenders custody of her children, or if they have joint custody and they come to some sort of arrangement down the line where the children spend a lot of time here, then of course the children could go to boarding school here. There are many ways to come to an accommodation, but those children will be his ace in the hole. And more than that, I am not prepared to say at this juncture. And she better be careful that she doesn't Rachel Zane them too much, because if she Rachel Zanes them too much, she might find that her hand cracks off. Oh dear, oh dear. Phoenix Firebird says, this could be interesting. If by chance the children are by surrogates, he would have a permanent hold over her from spilling the beans. Exposure would break her. Africa is a good option. Well, Phoenix Firebird, that is a very interesting speculation that you make. Of course, if the children were by surrogates, he would have a hold over her. But I am not for a second going to suggest for legal reasons that the children are by surrogates. However, if they were, I don't think she'd want the beans being spilt, although I can see that a resourceful woman could come up with a scenario along the lines of, well, I was made to do it. I didn't want to do it, but I was made to do it. No, I'm not saying Meghan's resourceful, and I'm not saying they're by surrogates. So this is all highly speculative. In the event that they had been, which we are not saying they ever were, and I emphasize all of that for legal reasons, but my goodness. Would she want that to get out? I suspect everything comes down to, is the price right? Because some people can live with any embarrassment as long as they're compensated sufficiently. Other people can't. But I somehow don't see Meghan as a very embarrassable person. Let us see what happens. Mary Smith says, since H&M are legally domiciled in California, the California State Court has jurisdiction over their marriage and not the English court, regardless of where they were married. Any legal separation, divorce, and more importantly, child custody issues will have to be worked out through the California courts. Mary Smith, I've made that point before. It's called the Hague Convention, America's signatory to the Hague Convention. And Harry is not domiciled in California. He is domiciled in the United Kingdom. He is ordinarily resident in California, but he's not domiciled there. So I make that distinction for what it's worth. Yes, the California courts would have jurisdiction. However, the California courts are not private the way the English family court is. In England, you are put under a penal notice which means you will be sent to prison if you breach the confidentiality of proceedings in the English family court. If, and I say big if, there were the possibility that this rumor is true and that they are effectively separating and that they have had some sort of agreement in the English courts. As Crone's Bones asks, why did they file agreement papers in the UK when they are primarily resident in the USA? And Crone Bones and Mary Smith, the answer is very simple. In California, things would be able to be leaked and made public. In England, they are private and guaranteed to remain private. I hope that answers those questions. So it's absolutely sensible and very explicable why proceedings will be taking place in the English courts, because they can agree to be bound by an agreement made anywhere in the world, and it has legal force in California or wherever they are ordinarily resident. Okay, I hope that clears up that issue. DeB says, I can believe this. The last few events that they were at together, I thought if looks could kill, one or both would be dead. I did notice some very dirty looks too. From what Lady C is saying, I take it that it was Harry who made the decision and Markle didn't have a choice. Well, that is my information. That Harry is the one who has, so to speak, had a Damascene moment and can't go back to believing that the pagan goddess is a true goddess, and that he is the one who is now pushing for all of this. How true that is, as I said, we cannot know. And they are very good at double and triple bluffing. So it's going to take some time for us to know. But the mere fact that if it is true that we are speaking about it will be disconcerting for at least one of the parties. And I don't think it's going to be Harry. And if it's not true, and they realize that their ruse has been exposed and they have been rumbled, that's not going to do well either in any of the 16 bathrooms in Montecito that they occupy as they sit upon the throne and expel the matter which they otherwise shoot in our direction on a daily basis. Yes, I noticed, for instance, do you remember after the funeral when they got into the car? They couldn't wait to be as far away from each other as possible. And at the funeral, they were purposely not looking at each other. Of course, if it is in their interest to pretend to the contrary, you can bank on it. She's an actress and he is a poodle faker who will go along with playing the poodle. and the lapdog to his mistress for the length of time that he deems it desirable. Who knows? Who knows? But either way, I don't think it's going to be a matter of great reassurance to them that we are speaking about this. You know, it's rather like the man in the crowd who says, "Hey, that emperor has on no clothes." And then somebody else says, "Not only that, my dear, he has the attributes of a boy and not a man." Very lacking. So I think no matter what, we're doing the right thing by speaking about this. They are public figures. They have exposed themselves on a daily basis to public scrutiny, despite saying they wanted privacy. Well, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So, Brian says, if the reports of separation are true, care must be taken in assuming the reasons for the separation. The idea that Harry's eyes were opened and he's determined to return to the values that he was brought up with is a charming idea. Still, it's just as likely that it's not Meghan's heartlessness and deceptions that bothered him. It is watching their popularity go into free fall while he's spending huge amounts on PR and image. In my opinion, it's likely that if he and Meghan were gaining popularity and signing lucrative deals right now, the marriage would likely be on very solid ground. Well, Brian, that is, I have to tell you, a very perceptive, a very prescient, and a very cynical observation to make, and could well be true. Could well be true. There's also an alternative scenario. You know, people get hooked on other people, and they get roped into doing things that they don't want to do against their better judgment. And then they justify the betrayal of their values and of themselves to themselves. And one day somebody does something and makes them do one thing too much, and the straw breaks the camel's back. And once the straw has broken the camel's back, I'm afraid the camel can't be a working camel anymore and can't be of further use because it can't carry the load. And it is quite possible that Harry has had a Damascene moment and that he has decided this is not a path I wish to continue to go down. He might even have always been conflicted and talked himself into, oh, well, yes, I think Meghan could have a point, yes, but was never 100% convinced. And now he's 100% convinced that he was never 100% convinced. And therefore has had enough. It's possible. It's also possible it's just the latest wee celebrities. Oh my gosh, aren't we clever? Gosh, we have those idiots so well fooled. Well, as they're discovering, not everybody's fooled. If they're trying to fool us, just because we're decent and willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, doesn't mean that we are convinced to the contrary. Kimberly Kennedy says, I think he figured out he was played. Too bad it took him so long to figure it out. Hopefully he will make better decisions in the future and reflect on how he could have been so weak-minded as to not figure out things sooner. He became her puppy. Well, sorry, the puppies have making my nose tear up. I mean, there is, as I've said earlier, what is effectively the phenomenon of the cult leader being seen by the cult follower at some point in his or her true guise. People will push other people, and there does come a point when, even though you are hooked on someone, or even though you truly love someone, they do something that makes you question the very foundation and existence of the relationship. It doesn't have to be a man-woman relationship. It can be friends. I've had friends who did something small and I thought, wow, I don't think so. My own mother did things that made me realize that she was not the sort of person I wished to be close to. It happens. It might well have happened. I think nobody at this point knows enough, because if what the whisperings are saying are true, and Harry has said he wants out and is making arrangements through the English court system, but is back there with her, it's going to be protracted, even if it is genuine. And the duality of the situation is such that we would be very naive, in fact very stupid, to believe anything that they say until we see that divorce decree. Frida Babley says, Lady C, I love all of your talks so much. Thank you. I think the separation is possible, but perhaps too good to be true. And what about Meghan having to be with him on all the book interviews? Also, Meghan said that Harry couldn't answer most of the supposed citizenship questions for the UK. Is that a sign of things to come? A preparation of attack against Harry? Is she just saying he's stupid? Is she saying, how could she if someone like Harry couldn't? Now, mind you, I really don't think she was ever going to be studying for the UK citizenship test. And if she did pretend to, let's say, well, she certainly didn't take one. Do you know anything about either of these situations? Well, she doesn't qualify under spousal terms, ordinary spousal terms for British citizenship. So unless they have waived the rules in her favour, she is not and will never be a British citizen. Also, if she has the political ambitions that she has espoused to various people, and remember, I'm the person who first said that Meghan had been saying she wanted to one day be President of the United States of America, and if Reagan and Trump could do it, she saw no reason why she couldn't. If she has these ambitions, she can't be a dual national. That's something else again. I think when she made the comment, she's made it in a podcast with Sophie Trudeau, her great friend Sophie Trudeau. They've known each other since they were little girls. They met in 2015. And she was really pitching the whole business of we're just regular moms and we're so girly and we have wonderful times together when we manage to meet up in our very busy lives laden with leadership responsibilities. But we're just girly girls and we love our kids and we're marvelous people. And life's really tough. It's tough when you're the wife of a prime minister. And she's not the First Lady of Canada, incidentally. There's no such thing. The senior ranking female Canadian would be the wife of the Governor General, not the Prime Minister's wife. I make that point for what it's worth. But dear old Sophie did the podcast, and Meghan used it yet again to establish her provenance, her suitability, her bona fides, and her entitlement to a position of leadership. At the same time as letting everybody know she should be sympathized with and pitied because her life is so difficult. I mean, and can you imagine those ghastly British? They're so racist. And somebody made the point that maybe she was given a specially difficult test, if you recall. That was a part of the podcast as well. Ridiculous, but there we go. And so she's on her pity fest as well. Oh, life's so tough, you know, it's really difficult for a foreigner to become a citizen of the United Kingdom. And not even Harry knew. And Harry, of course, knows everything, but then Harry's an idiot as well. So she's giving a dual message. The woman is a study in confusion and contradiction. And quite frankly, as I used to say about Diana, sometimes trying to unravel what she was about was like having an egg beater in your brain, scrambling your brains. Meghan's even better at it, because not that she is as effective as Diana was, because Diana didn't do on a daily basis what Meghan does, and Diana wasn't as scattergun approached. Diana was far more focused and therefore more effective. But Meghan, it's 2 and 3 times a week. Every week there's some new doggerel dished out of the bowl. Elizabeth Busco says, I wonder if this agreement has anything to do with Samantha's court case. Very interesting point, Elizabeth Busco. Sorry. No, it can't. if Harry and Meghan separate their assets, that means Samantha has a clear run at Meghan's assets. If their assets are pooled, she doesn't have quite as clear a run. And let us see what happens in Samantha's lawsuit, because the amount is for over $75,000, which is not a lot. But if the court found that Meghan was particularly malicious, they could whack her with a massive punitive damages award. So let us see what happens there. Pat Delaney says, "Are you sure it's not just another PR stunt? I wouldn't trust him ever." Pat Delaney, from your mouth to God's ears, I don't trust any of this either. I felt it was my duty to impart what I have been told, but I put no great deal of faith in its veracity or actuality. And so I'm going to read out a few of the other comments, because this is a conversation and I want to share the contributions of some of you to show what wonderful contributors you are. Karen Hellman says, "The royal family and the rest of the world want silence from that woman." We should be so lucky. We should be so lucky. Issa Men says, "Oh, Lady C, I wish it was true. That woman would not leave Harry before King Charles III will be crowned." Very good point. If she can finagle it, even if Harry doesn't want to be with her anymore, and even if they have a separation, then a divorce trundling through the courts, if she can find a way to make sure that she's there in all her glory. Oh, Mr. DeMille, I never thought I'd live to see the day that I was crowned the Queen of England. Well, in my imagination, yes. I mean, okay, so that Camilla's going to be crowned the Queen of England. But I can fantasize, can't I, Mr. DeMille? Oh, it's going to break my heart to see that woman crowned the Queen of England when I should be. But what can I tell you? I'm still going to get a choice position and have the robes of a princess of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. That's going to show that Nicky Pretty and my father and my sister and my brother and all those other people who actually thought I was just a human being. Now you know I'm a demigoddess. Sulin Chu says, "It's a ploy. This is to get attention, to get people to buy Harry's book. How vile to descend to such a level. I don't believe it for 1 minute." Sulin Chu, you could well be right. This could well be a ploy to get people to talk about the book and buy it. It could be yet another sleight of hand to go along with the many sleights of hand to which Harry and Meghan have treated us. It could also be genuine. Time will tell. Barbara Ford says, "This is probably only a ploy to have people talking about Harry and Meghan divorcing during Charles's coronation. What better way to remind the public of Charles divorcing Diana and later marrying Camilla, as she is being crowned Queen Consort rather than Diana? Also, Meghan gets the added benefit of all eyes being on her and Harry during the coronation. Games, games, games. She tried to get a pregnancy rumour started when the Queen passed. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And I was naughty, and I made the point that Meghan was trying to plant a story and that we knew about it and we were resolute it was not going to be planted. That's the one seed that fell on barren soil. Well, to put it another way, the seed didn't take. There were no moon bumps for it to flourish upon. As for the rest, yes, it is quite possible. Harry and Meghan are attention-seeking junkies. Everything is for either money or attention. This is an excellent way of getting attention for themselves. Yes, baby girl. Yes, I love you too. It is a wonderful way of getting attention for themselves. We're speaking about it, aren't we? So, how true? Let's find out. But I agree that if Meghan can pitch up at that coronation, she's going to. Caroline of Brunswick? I don't think so. Billy Foreman says, this is just a ruse to keep being stripped of their titles. I think the bridges have been burned beyond rebuilding. Harry can never be trusted again. You may continue to love someone and never want to see them again. Good riddance. Billy Foreman, I couldn't agree more. This could well be a ruse to keep them from being stripped of their titles. Remember, the House of Lords has already been speaking about stripping titles, and in December there's the second reading of the Act to strip titles. So this could well be another ploy. I mean, one of the beauties of this forum is that you make contributions, you give opinions that elucidate upon the subject and enlighten, because nobody can figure out and think of everything at the same time. And I'm reading out these comments because you are all adding to our rich dossier of knowledge. L. Owen says, Lady C, I know your sources are impeccable, but I do think the separation issue is planted like a war game. When on the battlefield, divide the army and attack from two flanks. One to be protected, then the other. The release date of the book is too close to Catherine's birthday to be a coincidence. It's all orchestrated to save Harry from the full participation and responsibility for the project. Still, I do believe Harry has had an awakening regarding the respect, grace, and dignity connected to the late Queen's passing. However, Sorry, no, I'm skipping a line. The highly visual reminder of true nobility versus plastic fantastic must be striking. However, I do think Harry will summon up his bluebird from the cat and leave in the future, hopefully unharmed and a little wiser. Well, I don't think you can leave from an experience like that and not be severely harmed. It took me 20 years for my spiritual level to be topped up back to where it had been when I married my husband. And I was 25 years old when I left. And although I was much younger than Harry is, and therefore you could say more vulnerable, the fact is this has played out on the world stage, which in fact mine did as well, but not to the same extent and for the same duration and the same intensity as his has. And therefore, I would be very surprised if he doesn't have a lifetime of coming to terms with the experience that he has been through. Filled with regret, hopefully, if he has a conscience. Is this a war game? Is he colluding with her? Is he blucher to her Wellington? Let's see. Because I don't think King Charles III is Napoleon. I think we're going to find that it's their Austerlitz, not their Waterloo. Their being the royal family. It will be Harry and Meghan's Waterloo, but it will be the royal family's Austerlitz, I think. But let us see. And yes, I think the timing is difficult, but I don't actually think, Elohim, that they care one jot about it being close to Catherine's birthday. I think it's done for commercial reasons, and Catherine's birthday most likely didn't figure in the equation, and if they thought about it, they thought, so what, we don't care. But I don't think it's done with Catherine's birthday in mind to poke her in the eye, so to speak. To Anthro says, the separation is all about saving the Red Prince's arse. That could well be so, my dear To Anthro. Could well be so. And if it is, he's going to discover that he has exposed his modesty to the public in an unseemly, undesirable way, and that it will rebound upon him. This sort of manipulative device does not bode well for someone's reputation, because it is seen as too obvious a ruse. And people get fed up being taken for fools. Pony Pint says, if this news is correct, finally the truth will out about the alleged children. Just my humble opinion. Pony Pint, very interesting observation. May I make another observation? Under British custom, under English law, I would imagine under American custom, and I would hope under American law, minors are protected against unseemly exposure. So don't expect any smoking guns to be fired. Sometimes not acting upon a threat is more effective than acting upon it. Sometimes the let me put it this way. Sometimes the existence of the threat is sufficient to make the person who doesn't wish to be exposed perform in a sensible way that they would not ordinarily choose to perform in. Let's put it that way. Maureen Martin says, Lady C, separation of gringe and cringe, eh? Or is this their idea for yet another book entitled Separation and Reunification? Because they have run out of ammunition to fire at the royal family and must realize we are all fed up with their whinging about the royals. So they have now decided to pretend to whinge about each other, and they can then both write books about their truths. Come to think of it, Megs will have a head start with her book title, as she has already had the bench, so she could call her book about her supposed separation from Harry the Wrench. After those bestsellers, they can write yet more books on how they got back together and Meghan has fell in love again. Oh, what drama! I can't wait! Doreen Martin, you are inspired. Are you sure you're not Meghan's half-sister? Because I have to tell you, I would never have thought of this in a month of Sundays. But you could well be right. My dear, but the problem is, of course, if we blow the whistle on their game, we rumble them. So they'll have to come up with a new set of nonsense with which to dupe and maybe enlighten their followers. Oh, I need to enlighten my followers. Oh, I'm so compassionate and wonderful. I'm just such a marvelous person. One act of compassion and abuse at a time. Gotta slap him on, slap him back, slap him again. Sorry, I'm a wonderful, compassionate person. Who knows? Who knows? The whole thing is so farcical. You couldn't make this up. This is beyond parody. CG says, the story of the separation is a ploy to promote the book. Could well be, my dear, could well be. And Diana Jovea says, hello, Lady C, greetings from Canada. I don't believe this news for 1 second. Megamouth is not going to give up so easily. This is just one of their moves to fool King Charles and the royal family to get what they want. Titles for the children and no punishment for him. I certainly agree that, but in my opinion, the primary thing is no consequences for Harry. He'll be let off the hook. Titles for the children, they may want them, but I don't think that's as realistic an expectation as let's see what we can pull out of this deck of cards and dish up so that Has gets let off the hook, not only by the public, but by the family as well. No punishment for him. This is really sick. And I think it is time for King Charles to step up and respect what the British people and those who loved our late Queen want. Banish them from the family. Strip their titles and none for the children. Sometimes a parent has to sacrifice for the good of the rest of the family. I am reading this out because this is an opinion that many people share with you, my dear. I don't know that it is necessarily an opinion that those who love Harry would like to have to alight upon, but it is certainly an opinion that a very good number of people share with you. Maureen Mullen says, I don't believe they are separating. It is being said at this time to confuse what is going through Parliament at this time. And so Harry will not lose his Councillor of State position and they won't lose their titles. And so Harry can excuse what he has said in spare. It is as well a setup so Harry can talk to the king and his brother and record them saying things that he can use against them. The king and William need to avoid speaking with him until he and Meghan are divorced. Maureen Mullen, what you have said, many people actually believe. Yes, this is a perfectly reasonable and valuable set of circumstances, a rationale, in a word. It's a very valuable rationale. It's a good explanation of what their motivation could be. The whole thing could be a setup. Kerry Henry says, Harry is totally responsible for what is in the book. He has signed off on it. It has taken a very long time for his writer to put his tapes into print. He has had plenty of time to think about what he was doing. The lawyers would have educated him about his truth. There is no excuse available for him for his appalling actions. Kerry Henry, I couldn't agree more. However, if Harry wants to run with the Pattyhurst Stockholm Syndrome, I really am not responsible, even though she, remember, was a teenager. He's a grown man. So with her it was rather more convincing than it is with him. But if he wants to run with it, it doesn't alter the fact that every word you have said is both true and fair. And if Harry is truly repentant and truly has had a Damascene moment and is truly enlightened finally as to the error of his ways, he should want to make amends. And if he doesn't want to make amends and doesn't fess up to being guilty of every sin he has committed in terms of what he did to his family publicly, he can keep his private sins to himself. Then he is being yet again irresponsible, resiling away from his responsibilities, and should not be cut the slack he would like to be cut. Now, I don't believe in humiliating people needlessly, but he will need, if all of this is genuine and sincere, he will need to show to the public that he has duped some sense of regret. And if he doesn't, we can bet your bottom dollar it's just another resigning away from responsibility and failing to accept the consequences of his actions and being let off the hook. Let us see what happens. All of this, as I've said, could be just a ruse and could have been nothing but a plant. The problem with people like Meghan and possibly Harry and other people of their nature, for instance, my mother, you never know what next they're going to come up with, but you can depend on it, whatever it is, it's going to be to your detriment. Very tiresome. And on that note, I will say, I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and remember, questions and comments, please keep them coming in. We need your comments and questions for us to have this conversation. God bless and goodbye.